What is something you've always wanted to ask a woman, but daren't?
Let's say I'm with a group of female friends, including my GF, and I, as a man, somehow am the only one to spot a wardrobe malfunction on one of my female friends. How should I bring this to you without being a creep? Lol, I remember being with a friend along with some girls my friend knew. We were at convenience store and one of the girlfriend's front looked unbuttoned such that her bra was exposed a bit. I couldn't tell if it was a wardrobe malfunction or was just how it was supposed to be, so it took me several minutes deciding whether I should tell the girls that their friend's bra was showing or not bring it up at all to avoid embarrassment in case I was wrong. A few more minutes passed and I was able to confirm that it wasn't a wardrobe malfunction, so I guess I saved all of us from an awkward-ish situation. I feel this hard. I work in a pizza place where I'm the only guy in a group of like 8 other girls who work phones, and a good handful of them are super neat freaks. I feel so weird being like, hey, you have a bunch of flour on your ass, but I know they'd flip if they knew they had that much flour on their leggings. I see a lot of these, how not to be weird, questions. I gotta tell you, I'm glad that you care enough to ask, but I bet you're defeating yourself. Saying something is not creepy. If you're so stressed about maybe seeming creepy that you are pouring sweat, can't look somebody in the eye, stutter and fidget, that's creepy. It's creepy cause we are thinking, what are you nervous for? Are you gonna try to hurt me? Impossible situation. Creepiness is in the eye of the beholder. What is a low-key matter of fact helpful comment to draw her attention to the problem for one of us on Reddit, could be received as, and just why was he looking anyway? He just wanted to talk to me about something sexual and make me feel uncomfortable, seriously? Only a perv would even notice that. Great, now I'm insecure and my night is ruined thanks to that creep. Etc. My advice? STFU and stay in the safe space of oblivious. When you cross your legs, does it feel like you're squishing anything at all? Or is it entirely without feeling? When a woman is in the sitting position where we'd cross our legs, our vagina and vulva are more oriented so they're facing downwards to the ground than frontwards. That's why we can pee sitting down without having to majorly lean forward. So it's less about the fact our reproductive organs are internal and more about the fact that they're much, much lower than yours. A way to understand it is this: when you cross your legs, do you feel like you're squishing your taint butthole? No, both cause there's nothing to squish but also cause that's nowhere near your thighs at that moment. But when we get camel toe, it can lead to this very uncomfortable, almost burning, itching sensation around our clit, and if you sit on a hard surface, like the plastic chairs that are used in school, it's fucking awful. You'd see girls kind of lean back onto their butts a bit and yank down each thigh of their jeans. That's us low-key adjusting ourselves to dig that seam out of vagina.so. We do have external bits that can get irritated, but it's usually an out of sight, out of mind thing. However, most women get to navigate tits, which are basically giant testicles on your chest. Since you roughly know when you're expecting your period, do you ever use preemptive tampons or pads? Or does the period start before you use products? Personally, I just keep pads on me when I go out when I know it will be happening soon. A good rule of thumb is to just have them available always, because maybe a homegirl needs one but isn't prepared, also. And I will say that men who aren't afraid of having pads, tampons or buying them is honestly really attractive, because we aren't being essentially shamed for something we can't help. Most times, it feels like we are, or at least I am, being shamed by men when they get all grossed out, crack jokes constantly, or make a big deal out of buying them. I'm sure some women somewhere who track their cycles well can, but for many people you'd be right that the period starts before we use any pads, tampons. When I was younger I could feel when it started because I'd get a back stomach cramp. Sometimes you feel it coming out but get to a bathroom before it hits your underwear. Many women are on more permanent birth control so they don't get it at all, or it's so small they might not even use any pads, tampons. I have done that exactly once. I was expected to start my period and there is always a day or two before or after my expected date when I could start. Well, I had a marathon to run, so I preemptively plugged myself just in case. When I was younger and used pads, I would start wearing them a day or two before I thought I would start so I wouldn't bleed through my pants during class. Do you feel sexually aroused by being touched in the breasts? Is what I would ask but wouldn't dare to ask until I'm not single, which I'm going to have good luck with getting rid of that status. Edit, grope or squeeze. Thank you for your answers. I have always been curious about what the subject. Definitely a subjective one. I hate it. I breastfed 2 kids and now my breasts are just very sensitive, and not in a good way. Too much handling is very uncomfortable. I don't mind a little touch, but too much will ruin the whole encounter. However, I also know women who love nipple, breast play so much that it's in their top 3 favorite things to do in bed. Talk to your partner. That's the only way to get the answer for this one. Not sure if most women feel this way, but the ones I know, including myself, seem to get much more aroused by vibes rather than either visual or physical stimulation. But once the vibes are right, the right physical stimulation complements and escalates the mood. That definitely depends on the individual though. You'll have to learn what the girl likes by communicating. We all have different roadmaps to pleasure. There's really no way to generalize. I personally love gentle circling around the boobs, slowly getting closer and closer to the nipples, with pauses in between to caress the shoulders and nearby areas, until I'm basically begging to be touched. Going straight to the most sensitive areas without any teasing or already being really horny turns me off. That's just my personal preference though. No, I get super awkward if someone even moves their arm or hand in the direction of my tits. I'm pretty sure it's everlasting trauma of my sister being a bitch and hitting my tits when they were growing, which was extremely painful. Also, my tits are ridiculously huge and bounce no matter what I do, which makes me self-conscious. However, since they're there and soft and squishy, I'll fondle them, so I know they're not sensitive and I wouldn't be into a guy touching my tit or squishing my nipple or whatever. Without meaning to flex or anything, what's the best way to turn a woman down if you're not interested? I'm sure that it varies from person to person, but it really sucks being made out to be the villain when really I just wasn't into you. Shoot her down with a compliment sandwich maybe? That's so sweet, nice, flattering, whatever you really think. I don't feel the same way. I don't want things to change. I am not in the same place as you. I am not looking for romance, love in my life right now. I don't view you in a sexual way. I really respect that you had the courage to be upfront with me. Don't feel awkward. You were being honest. I value and want your friendship. Let's not let this be a speed bump. Nobody wants to be turned down, but just be direct. It's kinder than unintentionally stringing someone along. This is such a sucky position to be. It just depends on how obvious they're being. Like, match their intensity and subtlety, especially when in front of other people. But if you need to be outright, which is perfectly fine and really boundaries are good, sister zone her. Either go, you're just like a sister to me, if you're close, or that reminds me of something my sister says or does. No one wants to remind their crush of a sibling, especially when they're being flirtatious. Sometimes acknowledging that their history on you can backfire and they can turn it on you as mistaking their intentions, and sometimes you might be mistaking their friendliness for flirting. So either ignore or be subtle in such scenarios for your well-being. This kind of also comes from what I tend to do when I'm hit on. Also, if you're being hit on by strangers, like at a club scene, have a ring band that you can occasionally slip on and mention a fake wife. I'm sure that might work. Maybe? When participating in the online dating apps, do you read the profile or is it all about the pictures? What sort of info are you after? I check the photo, read the profile, then check the photo again. What I'm looking for in photos is someone who looks like they're having a good time. Someone happy. I don't need crazy adventure photos unless that's a huge part of your life. If I were to imagine hanging out with the person in the photo, what would that be like? In the profile, I'm looking for a little of what things you enjoy and how you occupy your time, and a little of your values. Someone whose activities are compatible with mine means nothing to me if I know nothing about your values. So if you love going to concerts and trying out new restaurants, that's worth mentioning. If you also would go to your grave defending Donald Trump, also worth mentioning. If you love running and reading, mention that. If Jesus is your life and you want to spread the gospel, also mention that. Once you're in your 30s, you might want to mention if you're interested in having kids or not. In your 20s, I think you can generally leave that info out unless it's really important to you. If you're 20, probably stating that you want to make babies is a little intense. Oh man, I skip so hard if the profile just says, ask me. Just be yourself. Answer the prompts and put things you like down. Everyone thinks they're awkward and dumb, but it's important. I've found if they don't try with their profile, then conversing with them is like pulling teeth. Also, for the love of all that is holy, if you wouldn't say something to my face after just meeting me, then it is 100% not something you should send via message. I highly doubt most of these people would walk up to a girl at a bar and say something explicit. Or maybe they would. I used to read the profile most of the time. If there's anything gross or hypersexual, it's an instant decline, and that goes for the DMS too. A guy can be super hot, but if he treats women like meat and dating like a conquest, that is way more of a turn off than being a uggo. I'd rather give a guy who seems genuine and honest a chance, even if his looks don't woo me at all, than have to deal with trying to impress and subjugate myself for some hot womanizer. Serious question. In your daily life, how often do you feel unsafe because of a man? In what sense do you feel unsafe? Afraid you're gonna get beat? Sexually assaulted? Something else? Does this fear come from personal experience or stories you heard about others? I'm not afraid of specific men on a day-to-day basis. But the general worry is always present. It could be the dude at the gym, the weird man at the grocery store who only and always says hi to me, not the other customer nearby, the car that stopped 30 meters behind me when I'm on a walk or run. I'm not worried about a specific deed happening, just this general caution. In part, it's based on personal experience with creepy men, bad boyfriends, and also what is reported in news. Every day or every other day there is a rape, a suspected rape, some sort of violence against women. Pop culture also has a role in it. Take crime shows. If women gets murdered by men, it's cause they missed an important sign, walked alone, or he just did it no matter what. I know I'm a lot physically weaker than a man my age. If something were ever to happen, I'd be toast. I think that is why I'm always cautious. I rather be on edge and alive and well. This may OFC cause non-violent dudes to feel bad, but I rather them feel bad than I end up raped, hurt, or dead because I placed their well-being before my own. I wouldn't say I'm a particularly paranoid person, and I've grown up pretty lucky, so I haven't experienced the worst or anything, but it's just kind of this constant awareness of every man around you. Everywhere you go, you have to stay alert and observant of the men in the area. If you are walking and know there is a man walking behind you, you constantly monitor every noise and footstep behind you, assess whether they are likely to be a threat, think about potential actions until they go a different direction. I wouldn't say I live with a constant fear, but it's not like I'm relaxed whenever I leave the house. I went to the gym with my boyfriend today and I saw this huge, tall meathead guy without a mask on. My gym really enforces the mask policy, so I asked the front desk guy if that dude has some medical note that exempts him from having to wear a mask. Front desk guy confirmed it and thanked me for asking first. While my boyfriend is in the washroom, meathead guy comes up to me and says to me, maybe next time don't fucking complain about me when there's a sign at the front desk that says medical exemptions are allowed here, so you better watch yourself. I had been working out next to my man for 30 minutes and this dude purposely waited until I was alone to confront and intimidate me for complaining about him when all I did was inquire about it. I'm sure this situation might have also happened if I was a male, but the point is that for women, many common day-to-day actions can be viewed as a potentially threatening. Even shit as simple as walking down the street alone, sitting in our car looking at our phones, or going for a jog. Potential threats are just a constant presence in our lives. Every time I leave the house, any man that I'm not friends with is a potential threat. I wish I was joking. The fear is being grabbed, picked up, groped, verbally harassed, all of which have happened multiple times, started when I was 11. Happened in crowded cafes, normal clothes stores, public transport, is the worst one, you name it. I live in a middle-class area, actually one of the safest areas of England. I dread to think what happened to women who aren't so fortunate. Oh, and I forgot to mention the fathers of people I am friends with, had 3 separate incidents of being harassed, and then not having my friend believe their dad would do that. I should also mention I have never met a woman who hasn't had this happen at least 3 times. When I was younger, from about 10, late 20s, I would say I was always alert and mildly scared when walking alone, especially in the dark, because it was almost a guarantee that some creep would at least make a comment such as, "Give us a smile, love," even in crowded places in daylight. I was young looking for my age, but still I whistled at the first time I walked to school alone in my primary school uniform, and from then on I just expected to be made to feel uncomfortable or scared by someone every time I was out alone. Particularly in my late teens, physical assault was common. I took on a tough, do what you want, you can't hurt me, persona and slept around with guys I didn't like in order to feel some sort of control over it. The first meeting I attended in my first professional job, a middle-aged man practically sat on me and started questioning if I was wearing suspenders under my trousers while trying to touch me, and told me to wear a short skirt next time so he could check. This was in front of several male colleagues of his and one of mine. Now I'm older, fatter and unattractive. It's rare that anyone does anything to justify me feeling scared, but I'm more afraid than ever because I generally have my young children with me and the idea of anything happening with them around is so much worse. That said, I am aware the vast majority of men are good people. Unfortunately, though, we have no way of knowing who the assholes are until they show themselves, which some don't even do until several years into a relationship. From woman to woman, why do you think masturbating is weird, gross, shameful? I feel like a ton of women I come across in daily life think it's just odd or gross, or they just won't own up. I masturbate. I've had this discussion with a few friends and only one other friend has said they do. The rest act like I've personally asked them to do it in front of me. I don't understand. I don't think it's shameful. I think it's wonderful and very healthy. How can we expect other people to make us orgasm if we don't even know how to do it ourselves? Masturbating isn't just a good stress relief, it also helps you figure out what you like and what feels good. Communicating what you've learned in sex is how good sex comes along. More women should masturbate and not be ashamed of it. It's a known and accepted fact that men do it all the time. Why should women be made to feel shameful? Leave that conventional, sexist construct behind. Empower yourself. Smiley face. Edit. Since I was in high school, I've always been very vocal about sex-related topics. I find it interesting and natural, and I'm just genuinely curious about it even from an intellectual standpoint. Do many straight women find lesbians weird, predatory? I had trouble fitting in with and developing platonic relationships with girls in high school because I was afraid of being perceived as a creeper. I'm attending university soon and want to make friends, but I'm worried girls there will still think the same sort of thing. Edit. I would like to clarify that I haven't done anything to my knowledge to warrant that reaction. I've realized it might read that way. I've grown up in semi-rural Australia, which speaks a bit about the level of acceptance. Several users have used the term instinctual wariness, and I think that phrase fits more with what I'm trying to say. It's comforting to know that everyone so far disregards gender and sexuality when someone is being inappropriate and isn't uncomfortable with being friends with someone of a different orientation. Thank you for the kind words. Would you be creeped out or appreciative of a guy saying you are beautiful? Sometimes I feel like I should but don't have the guts because with so much about guys being creeps 24/7, apparently I don't want to be peppered sprayed or get taken the wrong way of hitting on you. I'd say to avoid a creepy vibe, it's better to compliment a particular feature. For example, "Hi, just wanted to say I like your hair," or "That's a nice jacket," as it comes off as more friendly than saying something like, "You're beautiful," which comes across as hitting on someone. Most girls don't have an issue with being flirted with or complimented itself, but they do have an issue with people that don't take a hint and keep pestering when the advances aren't wanted. So as long as it's a passing compliment and you're respectful, you should be fine regardless. I've had a few guys try to flirt or just compliment me. I happen to be gay, so I turn down any flirting quickly. If they're then like, "Oh, that's chill, sorry to bother you," I still feel flattered that they tried, but if a guy, or girl, carries on regardless, that's when I get creeped out. Disclaimer. Am aromantic and haven't been approached this way much. Am a woman though. First off, this might just be me, but I feel like beautiful is only used by lovers or creepy old men. Maybe try something a little more casual, since you don't know them. Secondly, it depends on the intent. Are you trying to make a move or just give a compliment? The former probably lean towards the creepy side, depending on the tone and everything, and also if you're looking for a relationship or a hookup. The latter is hard to do because it can be interpreted the other way, but if you make it more casual and specify that you don't want anything, it's more appreciated. Like, hey girl, you look hot, and staring until you get a response is creepy, but wow, your hair looks really nice, and then walking away is nice. I'm very aware of how complicated it can be right now to be a truly decent guy. So I think it comes down to situation and tone. Should you tell your coworker they are beautiful, unsolicited? No. Should you tell your date they are beautiful? Sure, if you think they are beautiful. Should you tell the woman walking past you on the sidewalk she's beautiful? No. It's complicated. If a guy randomly came up to me at the bar and said, "Damn, you're beautiful," I would be weirded out. It probably has to do with the unsolicited acknowledgement, but also his body language and proximity. And yet, there was a random time at a fast food restaurant where the employee looked at me with a genuine face and said, "You have really beautiful eyes," and it still makes me happy thinking about it. That was like a year ago. So anyway, good luck lol. I'm very complexed, is that a word, about my penis. My homies and my parents always told me that it doesn't matter, but I just can't believe it. I don't know if that's a question, but yay. You were lied to. Don't worry, a lot of girls were too. Guys talk about size a lot, so women think it's a desirable thing and get excited if their partner has one. But it honestly really hurts. We're built for average. Average is great.
There is nothing sexually satisfying about having something hit your cervix, and honestly it ruins the entire thing.
To be fair, I'm generalizing, and the only large penis I had was a dildo, but a lot of my friends have had this experience and were on the same page. If you're really turned on physically, i.e. lots of prep work, you can handle a large penis and it can be fun. But it can very easily not be fun, and that's most often the case. I don't want to send anyone on a guilt trip with this. Probably not a simple answer. But, what's up with all of the violent fantasies? I seem to have some quality that makes people comfortable way faster than I can deal with, and I've gotten some disturbing requests from women I barely know. Maybe, this isn't typical. Not sure. Disclaimer. This is just my experience. Some women and people in general may have different experiences. But this is my reason. My more violent fantasies directly correlated with the kind of relationships I was in. When I was in my many unhealthy relationships, I was a freak in bed, because that was the only way I knew how to make my partner give me the validation I needed. Since being in a healthy relationship, my violent fantasies have gone away, and while I'm not vanilla, I'm not nearly as kinky as I was before I was in a healthy but still passionate relationship. Well, just like some guys, some women like the idea of domination in the bedroom, I guess. Also, like, the adrenaline that stuff can give. But even if the fantasy is more violent, it doesn't mean you actually want it to happen to you in real life. Like for example, rape fantasies, and consensual non-consent play actually very common, but someone who has them doesn't actually want to be raped. Hence why CNC exists, it's role-playing. Allowing you to feel the thrill of fear, being dominated, whatever, without being in danger with someone you trust. I don't mind being a friend. But it seems to me a lot of women I try having as friends are only friends while they're single. They'll engage with me while they're single, but then stop engaging when in a relationship. It seems to me that isn't friendship. You're looking for male attention from someone you aren't interested in for some reason. I've cut out a lot of girls like that. To be clear, I don't mind being a shoulder to cry on, but I don't want to be only a shoulder to cry on, or someone to come to when you need physical labor done. I want to be there for fun too. Even if it is just platonic. Am I wrong? What am I missing? A coworker answered this with an, "Oh, you have no idea, but my mind still has a hard time processing because it's something I don't do. Do you ladies actually get unsolicited dick pics sent to you? Like, without ever even giving a guy a hint that you might be sexually interested? Your phone will go off with a notification, you open it and, surprise. Penis. Does that actually happen? If you were the female equivalent of a lumpy, sagging, middle-aged, graying man-child who holds down a decent job but mostly plays D&D, video games and watches anime and sci-fi and, while reasonably comfortable with his life situation, wouldn't mind someone to game, watch movies with, where would you be? Note, also has a tolerance for run-on sentences. Every girl I've been with ends up wearing and stealing my clothes. When I ask why, they say all guys' clothes are more comfortable than what we get to wear. So I check out women's clothing stores and everything is sexy, tight, form-fitting and has zero pockets or accessories. Why don't you all just buy guys' clothes then? Why keep buying clothes that are uncomfortable? I hope I don't come off as rude. I actually get frustrated now because, from my perspective, women just kinda got forced into being uncomfortable all of the time.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like the video. And if you are new, subscribe and click on the bell icon.